That will be the introduction. Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle Podcast with Jim and Aram. Aram, I've been saying how like my voice is so loud on these episodes, and I've lowered the gain all the way down, and then I found like sound input settings, so it's lower. So hopefully I'm more normal. It's out of control.
You sound quiet to me, but like not.
I sound quiet now.
Do I?
I might be able to move this a little bit closer. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out after today,
end, right?
All right. No, I mean, we'll find out afterwards.
As long as I sound good, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, thank God this is audio only outside of the YouTube. Most people are just having to listen.
Be a hot fucking mess if it wasn't.
Yeah, and I was telling Angela before we got on. I think I'm getting strep. I might end up hitting urgent care, but I did order the Propofol.
Just shower in methylene blue. You'll be fine.
Propolis. Yeah.
Propolis. Yeah.
Methylene blue is a good idea. He wouldn't have even gotten strep if he was doing that protocol.
Yeah, a little bit of trenbolone, and a little bit of methylene blue, and some Viagra, and you'll be fine.
Will vodka help? Helps your father with everything.
Helped my father for 78 years, and he seems to be quite fine. I don't think he's ever had strep.
Yeah, that's the only thing
he's got. My glasses are fogging up. Everything else.
There's a school of thought for everything. You could argue everything would help or harm.
Yeah, you know, it's all context, and you find enough evidence when you go digging to support your claim. It's not hard to get confirmation bias anymore.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about all kinds of things. We have a guest that has all kinds of experiences. We're going to talk about how education is a series of lies, based on what we were talking about with your son and his college experience. Just a series of lies and generational misinformation, and maybe find out some new stuff today. You had a pretty traumatic experience that led to the organization that you do now.
Yes.
Well, introduce yourself. She's got like 17 businesses. It's 14 kids.
Maybe 14 dogs. Not that many kids.
And we got to thank Sean Pastuch for introducing us. She's in his studio. We're just in our
No, I'm not in Dr. Sean's studio, but we do have to thank Dr. Sean for introducing us. So
you're not? It looks like his background.
Sean Pastuch. It does, right? I'm close. I'm on Long Island in New York.
Yeah. You are?
Yeah.
Where on Long Island are you?
I'm in Garden City right now.
Okay. So not too far from Shawnee.
No, I actually live right by Sean. So
by Long Beach?
I'm in the flesh. Yeah.
Dude, it literally in the flesh. Walking around with his shirt
walking
off.
Around with it. Oh God, if we're only so lucky. But with his shoes off most of the time.
Well, this is the time of year you're going to see him with the shirt off. You already had it off the other day.
Sean's the only guy I know who looks like he's on Ozempic and he's never taken it.
Oh, Dr. Sean, he's the best. So
I love ripping on him when he's not around because he's not as fun to make fun of in person.
Because he has quick comebacks.
Fun. He does. I love that about him, though.
He just rolls with the punches. He doesn't even get like screwed up by it. So it's not fun to make fun of him. It's better to do it behind his back and then he can hear it later.
Yeah, he is a professional at taking bullying. He's just a pro. So
he is. He's very good at it.
It's probably been happening to him since he was 4 years old. Look at God, we can do this. The first 40 minutes is going to be this, everybody. So you could fast forward if you don't want to hear this happening for 40 minutes straight. All right, well, Angela, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
My name is Angela Skudin. I am the CEO and founder of the Casey Skudin 343 Fund. I am a small business entrepreneur. I own a couple of retail businesses in Long Beach, New York, and a coffee shop in Long Beach, New York. And I have a wealth of knowledge from the streets of Lyme disease and co-infections and mold toxicity and environmental toxins and whatnot, and quite a wealth of knowledge about alternative healing and psychedelics. So
So all the
And she
stuff that
has
Jimmy liked.
she has a nerd for a son, graduating like good
I
colleges with like cool degrees.
well, my son, and he's not a nerd, but
We know
Is
that.
this
We
the
can
guy?
tell.
Is this the guy that's in? Is this the Cornell kid?
I have an
Yeah.
Ivy League educated son. Yes, my firstborn. So I do
Damn.
have very smart children. So,
Hope
uh,
he got a scholarship.
um, yeah, he did.
Good,
You
because
know,
that shit's expensive. What's fucking Cornell these days? $5 million a semester.
no, you know
A
what?
semester.
I think it's a scam when people tell you about college because then people get scared away when they look at tuition prices, but everything's relative. You fill out those FAFSA forms. So when he was going to college, my husband was a New York City firefighter. I own a retail business. We fill out our FAFSA forms. He went to one of the college of, I think he graduated from the ag college or ag sciences, something like that, but it was a New York State college. And so we got money from New York State for him to go to Cornell. And I think I only ended up paying 9 grand a year.
Wow.
Not even a semester, 9 grand a year for my son to attend Cornell University. So,
It's a hell of a lot cheaper than what I pay to go to Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut.
don't let them fool you and look for the scholarships. And, you can't get it if you don't look. So,
Yeah.
True.
I bet you, like
and
the
they give out
smaller
scholarships for
schools.
everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if the
I got
smaller
one.
schools just don't give as
See?
much. You got one?
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought for some reason Ivies don't do scholarships, but apparently they do for sports. They don't call them scholarships though, right? They call them
Well, you don't have to get
assistance.
it directly from the university. You can get it from
Oh, right. There's like other
a lot of people. A
associations.
lot of charity organizations are looking to give money at individual high schools, like in memory of. Uh,
Right.
my whole organization is built on in memory of. So I'm out here giving money in memory of. So a lot of people, when they lose a loved one, they'll do that, and a lot of people that lose kids, school age kids, do scholarship funds. So it's worth looking into. So.
So I think that's where we start now.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
everybody might be going down Ivy League yet. So
So
we were
let's
just
Tell us.
talking about re-educating, right?
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
before we get to that, let's start with the nasty fun stuff first.
Oh, with the what?
With the
With
nasty
what?
fun stuff that led to
Well,
the whole foundation.
well, like what led to you starting the 343
343, the Casey
343
Skudin
fund?
343
Yeah.
fund. So
Tell us. Yeah. Tell us this.
it was a series of events. I've opened the Casey Skudin 343 fund for the past 2 years. We've been sending first responders, both active duty and retired, for psychedelic journeys, supported psychedelic journeys inside of an integration container to safe legal facilities around the world, really. So we've been doing that since May of 2023. That was when we sent our first group through. And the reason why I started this group was on June 17th, 2022. My family was involved in a car accident where a tree fell on us and it killed my husband and it hospitalized our youngest son and it knocked our oldest son out. And for some reason, I made it out okay. And that was 6 weeks after a psychedelic journey. I had sat with ayahuasca 6 weeks prior to that. And my psychedelic journey didn't really make a lot of sense
Was that your
when I sat
first
with it's the
ayahuasca
first time with
experience?
ayahuasca. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had come to that, and we'll get into that, how I got there, how one gets to ayahuasca. But it was 6 weeks after that. And the entire journey made sense to me in that moment and what I had learned during it. And I credit it to so much of my mental ability to stay present with my children after this event, not need to be medicated or turn to what my family had turned to generationally, which was alcohol, which I see a lot of widows and widowers turn to. Um, that's just a normal tool to use, and it was abnormal to me because of the psychedelic therapy that I had been through for my Lyme disease healing. prior to the death of my husband. And then I implemented psychedelic healing and what I had learned from it, from healing with Lyme disease, to support me in my grief journey. So while I built this program, I tested all the programs. I went through the psychedelic journeys that all of my people go through. 54% of the people, of the first responders that come through my organization, are substance dependent, whether active duty or retired. And it's crazy. I was just talking to a guy today who was telling me he's still an active duty firefighter. And he was telling me that he has tried everything, including this crazy residential treatment in Malibu that a bunch of celebrities go to. And he said he has never had a stint of freedom from alcohol, like as long as he has with one Ibogaine journey. So
the other experience that he had trying to get sober was just strictly alcohol rehab, not psychedelic assisted rehabilitation.
right, he hadn't tried any
Okay.
prior psychedelic assisted rehabilitation, and a lot of people that go in aren't even admitting that like this has power over their life, and then it's just a side effect of their psychedelic treatments. It seems to be they get this power over alcohol or whatever substance. I was talking to a guy today who was addicted to nicotine, and he told me he tried everything to quit nicotine, and he is nicotine free. So I haven't been addicted to nicotine in a really long time, so I don't know how hard it is to get off, but I hear it's really hard to get off nicotine. So, yeah, on the other hand, I see people that go and they fall back into their habits, and a lot of it's because they don't have a supported system and they don't make a lifestyle change. Because if like we
Well,
could
it's the
just cure
integration
people with
after.
psychedelics, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Like
integration
most
afterwards.
people could go to a rave and be healed,
Yeah,
but
not.
that's just yeah, that's not happening. So the integration period is, and that's a lot of times involves major self-examination that people don't want to do. And then that's okay, because then they can go back to their other tools and just continue the cover up, And that's, I guess, what's nice about free will.
I like that you call them tools because let's be honest, what they really are is just masks and band-aids. Because I mean, I've watched a lot of people in my own family suffer with booze addiction, and they never really understood booze addiction because we're all from Russia, where it's supposed to be okay, and men don't admit their problems. Where I think AA and NA and GA and all these other things do well is they provide a community and a support system. That's about the best they'll do. Everything else, all this bullshit wrapped up into fucking God and the 12-step program is such horseshit, in my opinion, because all it's doing is just displacing your dependency on one thing and placing it on something else. So instead of believing in the drug or believing in the gambling or believing in sex or believing in alcohol, you now start to believe in Jesus and he heals you all of a sudden. As opposed to what I think psychedelics, MDMA, ketamine, all this stuff will do, is it unlocks parts of your psyche and your thinking that you've never tapped into because you were too scared shitless to do it. And now with the right type of guidance and the right type of awareness, you start to actually wake up and get out of your own way.
Yeah, I mean, to put it, simply, yeah, that's it's like it's an invitation for self-examination that allows new neural pathways to form, which allows new behavioral patterns, which allows you to be by definition, a new person, you know? So it's kind of a fast track to evolution. Um, and it seems to scientifically be working too for neuro regeneration. Famously, at this point, we have the Stanford study from Ambio, Life Sciences, and Stanford University, and Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. They took 30 special forces guys with traumatic brain injuries. I believe it was 30 to Stanford, and everybody got a MRI, and then they went to Ambio Life Sciences in Tijuana, Mexico, and they had one ibogaine treatment. I'm not sure if they had the 5-MeO as well, but I know they had the ibogaine. And then they did a post-journey MRI, and all 30 of them showed regrowth at their TBI site. So regenerating white matter in the brain. There's no substance on earth that does that. This compound has been politically vandalized and placed on the controlled substance list from a political fallout where somebody wanted to say somebody was addicted to drugs, so they chose ibogaine, and then now this thing, they had to have it on a controlled substance list. But by definition, it's not. It's not addictive. And number one, for it to be on that list, it needs to be addictive. Ibogaine comes from iboga, and that's a root bark that grows in Gabon, Africa. And there they refer to it as eating God. It's part of their culture. It's part of their life, the Bwiti tribe. They're the beholders of this medicine. We've been so lucky to, find it in our Western culture. It's been, all of these modalities have been so suppressed from us. So the fact that we have this, and now we have this, even this just one scientific study, I mean, that is phenomenal. Then I'm telling you, I watched this miracle happen with my eyes. I have a group there right now. So tomorrow I get to talk to 6 people that I sent through. I started offering this to first responders because I realized at the accident scene, these people are just compartmentalizing all this trauma. And I don't have to see this tree get pulled off my dead husband that they now know is a New York City firefighter. And I've seen the blood drain out of their face, knowing that. And, it becomes personal to them and their family members, then losing this guy. And I thought, man, this is their everyday. This is just my trauma, and this is going to be imparted in my memory, but I'm not having anything else imparted in my memory. And this isn't my hometown. These aren't my roads I drive down. And for first responders, it's their hometown. It's the roads they drive down, the same parks that they have the shootings at, or that they respond to violent car accidents, kids wrapped around trees and whatnot. And they compartmentalize this somewhere in their body, and allegedly the body keeps the score. And I realized that this is something that they do, and they don't get to run away from the war zones. They don't come home from them, they live in them. So I just thought, wow, if my husband, it just became so clear, like his life could just continue saving these people's lives. So I took his entire life insurance policy, $750,000, and I started an organization to fund supported psychedelic journeys for career first responders, active duty police, fire, EMS, or retired. And to date, we've probably sent around 120 first responders or their spouses. I've had the opportunity to send 9/11 kids, that have been holding like all this trauma from the death of their firefighter dad. And now they're a first responder too in his honor, but they're just still suffering, and, free them from their mental and physical torture. So, and all it takes is like 4 days in Mexico. So
So
for
with your organization, these retreats, we'll call them, the therapy sessions, they're happening overseas. You're not doing them here.
We are not. The Casey Skudin 343 Fund is not doing that on American soil right now. There's a lot of people that are doing psychedelic journeys or here in America. There's places where it's legal here in America. There's states and whatnot. It's just isn't anything that I've personally explored, or that,
that would be
and
a
I
ton of red
haven't.
tape, I assume.
I honestly just don't know any. I haven't made a connection with a US based organization. I don't know how it would work for us because we're a grant organization. So we provide the grants directly to the people, and they pay the psychedelic facilities directly. So there's not a lot of red tape on our end per se.
I'm saying if you were
And
doing it in the States, it would be a totally different thing, I would assume, in terms of
yeah,
legality, red tape, and all that.
we're doing
You can tell
it
us.
places where it's legal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I mean,
Nice. And
it
it's a
ends up just
4-day.
being basically like you're handing them money; they're going to pay the facility. So once the facility's taken care of, I'm just very, very curious, and I'm sure our audience is curious. what's a typical 4-day retreat like this look like from start to finish? What do these people experience?
So with our program, we start with everybody has a dinner the night before, and we do a pre-journey, pretty hefty pre-journey integration. So it's not just like, oh, hey guys, everybody just shows up down here. Because let's be honest, this is weird, and nobody got here because they're like in a really good place mentally.
Yeah.
Period. So we do what we can for the family support on the front end. We give them a coach. We give them a breath work one-on-one. And then weekly, we have a supported integration program that has integration calls,
This is
breath work.
afterwards.
This is
No,
before.
before.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
all
So
before.
how long does that go on before going?
It just depends on how much time, and everybody's individual. We have emergency slots sometimes when people have to go if they are having suicidal ideations or they're in a bad place. And then sometimes people are going anywhere from a month out. If anybody's on SSRIs or certain drugs, or anything that they need to detox, they'll have to titrate off of all of whatever they have to titrate off of. So it can be a little bit of a process. With our program, we've got about a 3-month wait currently, to go once you're approved, but you kind of need that time to set yourself up. We also have an integration manual everybody gets for free. Ours is catered towards first responders, and it helps you set your intentions. It also helps you not put too much pressure on the medicine. Like, there's so much of this that has to be done by choice and lifestyle change and all of that. So we give that education, and then we set them up with a coach. They have the coach for a year from the time they go on their journey. So it doesn't start when they first start their integration. It starts the day that they go on their journey. And then they go, we have a pre-journey integration call. The 6 people that are going, 6 people that are going together, that would be an ibogaine journey, a standard ibogaine 5-MeO DMT journey, which is the top grant that we send groups for. They meet and they have dinner together in San Diego, and then they cross the border the next day, all in a vehicle from the service provider, and then they are at the facility. It is really nice. It's kind of they do all of your laundry. It's so clean, super professional staff. You do medical check-in, you do your analysis. They do a blood analysis as well. Everybody eats really good. It's like a 5-star chef, so a lot of people say they really enjoy the food there.
Is it complete
Is it
water?
vegan? Is it vegan menu when they're
They
for
can
these?
cater to anybody's anybody's um, dietary needs. I know what you're asking.
Yeah.
So no, it's not. And we educate people on their choice and their manner about inviting different energies in, or different foods, or going in with a really clean system. So we
Yeah,
kind of give
because I mean
them
that's going to be a
the
totally different
option.
experience too if you have very little or nothing in your digestive tract. I mean,
I well, the day of,
from my
you know,
experience,
things are, yes.
it makes a big difference.
There's a food cut. They cut you off from eating on, they have it planned out. They're not,
Yeah, like 3,
you have a
4 hours
last
before.
meal. Yeah. So, you show up.
Do you
It's a
have to
really
call it
nice
the last
house.
meal? Is it because
It's
it's
the
the death
Last
of the
Supper.
ego? The last
The
meal,
Last Supper.
like you're going for
Last,
the electric chair. What do you want for your last meal?
yeah, right. It is. You are gonna go through
Yeah,
an ego death. Hopefully, you will.
yeah,
That's the idea. So you go through that. When you get down there, they go through everything too. They're gonna make sure, like, they look through all of your supplements, everything. They're very diligent there at Ambio to make sure that you're not, you know, doing anything medically to harm that could harm you. People don't know about this, and they do. They also then send everybody to a Temazcal, which is a traditional Indian sweat lodge, or Mayan sweat lodge. So It's pretty cool. They describe it as a big pizza oven. It's kind of a group bonding activity. I tell all the firefighters that are going, nobody's allowed to get out. You have to stay in the ceremony. But it's the first ego surrender that everybody does, and it's a detox. So they go enjoy that little field trip together, and then they go back to get hydration, rehydration IVs, dinner, and do a circle up. So that's night one. Then day two is a super long day, the hurry up and wait day. And you get Ibogaine at 6:30 p.m. But during that time, you're getting a massage. You're getting a one-on-one session with an AMBO host. You're getting yoga, or you're getting breath work on that day, not yoga. Yoga comes the day after, but you're getting breath work. So they've got a really, packed schedule for you while you're waiting for your journey. They do all the journeys at night because you do become light sensitive with this medicine. So it's just better to do it at night. Makes just for a smoother ride. And then at about 8 p.m. is the witching hour. I think it's like 8 or 8:30. Everybody gets their first dose. Ibogaine's measured 13 milligrams per kilogram, so everybody gets the same dosage based on body weight. And then it's a little bit, before it kicks in, or it's not, and no one ever knows, how fast it'll kick in. I've sat with iboga twice and ibogaine twice, and I've had a different experience every single time. So,
What's
but
it like when you're the last one and you're just watching everybody else and you're like, I'm not feeling anything?
I've
Like
been
you're looking
there.
around and people are, what goes through your head when that happens?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what that's like.
Yeah, what's that
That's
like? And
like
you're like, this isn't
it's
fair.
frustrating. It's an ego battle also, which
Yeah,
I believe is part of the medicine as well. So
yeah.
I think that, yeah, if you go through that, it's part of the medicine, and it's always working. So even when it feels like it's not working, it is. And then and I'll explain that more, because they call something, they'll say, people oftentimes say they'll get a booster dose when they think it's not working, and the second it hit their tongue
Yeah.
that it worked. And that's impossible, scientifically.
Yeah, it's like,
So when
oh,
I
yeah,
say, like, the
correct.
medicine's driving, the medicine is in control, and it's trying to drive your ego away. It's
Yeah.
trying to be like, okay, listen, I have this person, and like, Angela is safe with me for this ride. You can let her go, because at the end of the day, all our ego wants is for us to remain alive. And it'll tell us any story it can for our safety. And sometimes it's an overprotective mother, you know so the medicine has to play sometimes a little bit of a game with the overprotective mother, to be like, all right, I got your kid for you. You don't have to worry about it, and we're going to work together here. So yeah, it's always a different ride every single time. But people will get on the train. The part about it, though, that not everybody will have is visualizations. Everybody expects to go to the most powerful psychedelic on the planet and have this extraordinary psychedelic experience. I certainly did. And the first time I ever sat with iboga, I didn't have any psychedelic experience. I just, yeah, I just saw like muddy, like nothing all night long, and I thought it didn't work. And the next night, the night after that, I went to go to sleep. I was super frustrated too, because I thought the iboga didn't work. And I fell asleep without self-medicating for the first time since I think I was a teenager. So, and got like real sleep. And I have slept like that every single night of my life since, and not required. Um, don't think I've uh, gotten sick once since that night. So it's been
Fine, I'll
over
take
5
it.
years. Take the
Since I got strep,
propolis.
fine. I did order it. I'm getting it.
Take the propolis. I work really hard on my immune system. With other things also. But yeah, just
Give
I
everybody the
wanted.
list. Give everybody a list of what they should be taking every day so that they don't get sick. The garlic,
I
the
know, right?
oregano. Give us the list so everybody can write it down.
It's what you should be eating. It's all that. So
Yeah.
no, it's not. It just it's really super individual, which is, I think, what's so frustrating about people's individual medical journeys and their healing journeys, or whatever you want to call it, is that all of these machines are different, and all of the input that, especially how much somebody's working their subconscious mind, is going to impact how quickly they're going to heal. I was so sick. I had Lyme disease. I was covered in sores from head to toe and had handfuls of hair falling out every time I took a shower. I was riddled with crazy inflammation, arthritis. I had brain inflammation. I lost word recall ability to speak and say words. I would forget where I was driving when I was driving home.
How
It
long
was
did you deal with
crazy.
symptoms? How long did you deal with symptoms before you found out and was actually diagnosed? Because a lot of people don't even get diagnosed.
Oh, well, I am an annoying patient. So I ask tons of questions. So I probably, well, how long did I deal with symptoms before I got diagnosed? Probably since I was 11 years old. So
Okay.
probably like 20 or 30 something years.
Can you
Um,
trace back to what it
but
was from?
well, they say it was from a tick.
Okay.
They say that what I had, Babesia, Bartonella, relapsing fever, Borrelia, um, are something called Morgellons disease, which is crazy. They say that they're tick-borne co-infections that they found. And I've been bit, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was outside all the time, and we got bit by ticks all the time, and just kind of pulled them off and threw
Yeah.
them or burned them with a match,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we weren't testing them, and we didn't know. So I started having arthritic symptoms when I was 14 years old, and that's when I had my first surgery. So I have had so many surgeries, so much arthritic decline, and then things that will just come and go, phantom stuff. I've been misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia, um, and then uh, told I needed back surgery because I had two fully bulged herniated discs, spinal stenosis, left side scoliosis, degenerative disc disease. They say that this is controversial here, but I had what's called a piriformis nerve impingement. But I'm going to let you know my nerve impingement was not controversial. It was alive and well in my body, and it made me really suicidal for about 9 months,
What age was
where I
this?
didn't know if I could take it, the pain, because it was so severe. Um, and they were offering me back surgery, but and hip surgery because I had a labral tear as well. But my pelvis hurt so bad, and I was bleeding vaginally, and they told me I had endometriosis like out of nowhere. And I thought, wow, well, how is back surgery going to help this? So
Right.
I started going to get manual manipulation, like internal manipulation of my pelvis to try to like reposition it because my pelvis was just moving and nobody could figure out why. And then started chiropractic care. And everybody who worked on me that really cared, even pain management doctors, they would say, when you find out, I know you're going to find out what's wrong with you. I just feel like you're that type of person. Will you please call me and tell me what you found out? So I ended up having to fly to California and see this doctor out there, this MD out there that had a practice, that wasn't, you know, um, a naturopath or anything because they just would everything gets poo-pooed. Unfortunately, I think now the naturopaths are gaining some ground, and they should, because they've been doing a lot of good for people. But I was treating from a Western medicine perspective back then, and fully didn't know about any of the other treatments available to me. And I found an MD, and I finally got diagnosed. And I learned that there was just some tests that we aren't privy to as citizens in certain states, that could detect certain diseases. And we could go down that rabbit hole, but then we would need an entire another show. But so I just decided to get around everything. So rather than, okay, you need to draw my blood in this state, I'm going to get here and get this blood draw, and that's how I was able. But most people don't get out of it. They told me I would never get out of what I had. That I would have it be treating with a daily antibiotic for 5 to 9 years minimum. The reason why I got out of it was because it was costing me $10,000 a week when I was treating. I ended up with a PICC line in my arm, and I was having to do daily or 5 days a week antibiotics and antiviral treatments, going up to right before COVID. And and I just still wasn't progressing. There was just a part where I just plateaued, and I was on Atu-based, disulfiram, off-label use, where I couldn't put any hand sanitizer on during COVID, and that was just like the joke of it all. And people would like demand when I would go into buildings, like, "You must sanitize or you can't come in here." And I'd be like, "Ma'am, I know this sounds super weird what I'm going to tell you, but I think the evolution of ChatGPT will help so much because now I can just be like, let me just show you the side effect of this." But yeah, it was a crazy time. And so what I was doing with all of the stuff that I was taking to my body also was just crazy, and especially with my gut health. So I kind of had to break everything down to build everything back up. So I started going rogue. I stayed with my doctors, and I kept doing my blood tests, but I quit picking up my prescriptions. It started because I didn't have the money to pick up the prescriptions one day. They're at the compounding pharmacy. We were so stressed out, and I was just like, um, I kind of have to learn how to live without this somehow. And I just couldn't go get that prescription. And then it just started going into what could I do for myself? So it was $30 a week to order bees from this lady in North Carolina. And I started a bee venom therapy protocol, which was just like basically because I learned it from watching TikTok. This girl doing bee venom, I watched her for a year while I was doing all this other stuff to my body, and then kind of ran out of stuff. And I was like, all right, it's time to try the bees. And I learned that I had a special case, and I just had such systemic stuff going on that I needed to kind of sting from head to toe. So I would do 19 to 26 bees a session. Of course, I made sure I wasn't allergic to bees before I started this protocol, and I worked my way up to 19
And they're just
just
stinging you.
they're just stinging you on my meridian lines.
Why in this day and age can they not just sting it into a little rubber cover over a
Right.
glass and get the stuff? And
Right.
that's crazy.
It's something to do with the delivery from the venom sac. So they lose their venom sac when they sting, and
Heading
then
straight from the tap.
and not all bees sting, so, and they lose it, and then it's a 15-minute delivery where it's still pumping actively. And if you ever give it a Google, look at the bee venom sac pumping. It's really fascinating. Bees are just fascinating, period. But yeah, so we would have to do that 15 minutes, you wait, and then you take the sacs out, because it's actively pumping the venom. They, to my knowledge, have not been able to replicate this pharmaceutically, but I'm sure someone's trying. I'm sure people are working on it. This is ancient medicine. It's been around since the ancient Egyptians, and it breaks down everything, good, bad, indifferent. Bee venom just destroys it all. And then you rebuild healthy you. So that's what happens with bee venom therapy, is just you're just breaking it all down and then you're building it back up. Our bodies just don't get the credit that they're due a lot, and we forget that they're able to, regenerate. So that's what happened. And then my immune system just rebuilt itself, and I started getting so much better. And then I found I couldn't sleep, though. I was still having, you can't sleep, you can't heal. And that was a huge struggle, especially for Lyme people. Their circadian rhythm gets backwards, and then they just really can't sleep. And then they're having brain inflammation, which is causing so much like night terrors and anxiety and then depression. So it's a terrible cycle. And a lot of them are dealing with suicidal ideations and just suffering, and they're on the wrong stuff, or they're totally misdiagnosed, and they're just going down the rabbit hole of, orthopedic symptoms and all sorts of stuff. So I didn't end up having any surgeries. I have evidence on an MRI that my body regenerated. No, but I have no back pain in my body today, and can do, whatever workout you guys want to go do right now.
The
So
uterus is good
that's
to go.
the uterus is good to go. I
Good to
don't
go.
take, I'm not on one prescription, period. I do, I am dipping into the peptide world. I mean, it's all the interesting right now. So,
Which one's jumping
um,
out at you?
supplements. Well, the BPC 157 for, I'm trying to
Tissue.
stave off. Uh-oh.